Just because the basketball world is shut down doesn't mean your knowledge of the game should too. Sports Business Classroom is here to go in depth on a different area of the business of basketball each week. Coming to you live from his home office, here's your host, Beau Estes.
Welcome to my home office, everybody. My name is Beau Estes. I'm the broadcast chair at SBC. I also work with NBA TV and NBA.com. And boy, we got an SBC Web Show for you this week. Two heavy hitters on the show. First up, Tommy Sheppard of the Washington Wizards. Tommy, how you doing, bud?
Now I'm fantastic. It is amazing. I have to be with two of the best pipes in the business, with yourself and with our next guest. Two of the very best voices, and here you got a schlep like me. But I'll try to get through.
Come on. Well, I was going to say, Tommy, I was going to introduce this next man, but his voice does his introductions for him. Joel Meyers of the New Orleans Pelicans and Sirius XM Radio. How you doing, Joel?
Doing well, guys. Ready for games, any kind of games at all. I can only watch Gulfstream Park and Church. And I'm happy to have them. I'm very happy to have them. And I know that the New York tracks and everything else is opening up. So fortunately, they're going strong, and hopefully all of us are going to go strong in the near future.
Absolutely.
So you're available to host our Hall Pass horse racing show, that stuff. You're good for that, right, Joel?
I can take everybody straight to the courthouse if you want to handicap with me.
I'll pass on that one. Hey, before we get going, guys, we want to take a moment to thank all of our first responders here. They're really doing a fantastic job keeping us safe, and we want to do everything we can to keep them safe. I'm talking about all of the doctors, all of the nurses, all of the pizza delivery guys, all of the Amazon delivery drivers, anybody and everybody who's putting their lives on the line. And additionally, just from my perspective, I want to send my thoughts out to the people of Minneapolis. It's an awful situation up there. We hope it gets better soon. It's just so tough to watch. And my heart, and I know Tommy, you and Joel feel the same way. Our hearts go out to those people.
Absolutely. We need justice. We need justice fast. We do. Need to give people hope that they can believe in this.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. By the way, Beau, as you bring that up, this is as unfortunate a situation as we've ever seen. So this is it's to the extreme now, and this can't continue. And it's
you make a good point.
You get emotional, and I can't look at it. And I saw it once, and that was enough. And it takes you to another place where you get upset, and we need change, and change has to come right away.
And I think you're right. I think it's the seeing it, and I think it's the cell phone technology and stuff like that. We're seeing this now, and it hurts maybe in a way they didn't, but it also affirms what people have been saying for a long time. So you're right. I think change needs to come. I hope it does. But again, on behalf of all of us, our hearts go out to those people in Minneapolis right now. We're thinking about you. Since we're the SBC Web Show, we want to take a minute to remind everybody that the Sports Business Classroom is an immersive training experience. It happens every year when we have that Las Vegas Summer League. There it is. You can register still at sportsbusinessclassroom.com. These gentlemen have been involved in the program before, and it's a fantastic program. I love being a part of it, and I love seeing the students that come out of it. So get yourself online, get yourself registered, and we're going to do everything we can to train the future leaders in this world of basketball. Guys, as we dive back into this, obviously we've been off since March. One thing, Tommy, we're sort of dealing in hypotheticals here. We talked a little bit before the show about this. How are you preparing your team? How's the quarantine been? What's it like running a basketball team in a quarantine? It's just, obviously nothing you ever really trained for, I suppose.
Well, first, I can't say enough about our coaches and staff and the way that they got our players to buy in from the very beginning to having Zoom workouts. We never messed with Zoom much in our lives, and now we're on it every single day. I think I'm a frequent flyer, so I got a couple million miles worth of Zoom hours now. But our coaches have done a great job connecting with our players, and we try to stay as communicative as possible with our players every single day, with our staff. So that place has been good. The workouts have been very valuable. You know, it's just unfortunate that where we are as in DC, a lot of our players actually left market and went to other places just to have a little bit more access to things. DC is shut down. We're hoping that we're moving into phase 1 right now to start to reopen and do some things. Our facility is one of 8 in the NBA that is not open yet. And it's not a race. All that matters to us is the safety of everybody in the community and keeping everybody healthy. And especially for us, obviously, with the Wizards and our family. But there's no substitute for safety, and we're going to abide by that. But what we've been doing all along has been, this is a normal time of year to be getting ready for the draft. So we have conference calls every day. We've interviewed 56 players that are in this year's draft. And we intend to interview about another 30. So we're ahead of the game on some of those things. We've done some great film edits and deep dives on players and a lot more analytics stuff than we've done at this point. So we feel like we're very prepared. Now you kind of get ready for the draft that you normally is in June. Well, that draft could be in September, October. That's well ahead of us, but I don't think you'll see the draft in June.
Joel, Tommy talked about his preparation as far as running a team. You've called games all over the world in all sorts of different situations, I'm sure. Tell us about the possibility of calling remote play-by-play NBA games. Is that a new experience for you? And what's that like? What's the preparation like?
Well, I don't think the preparation is going to change. And I think we're all going to go in just as we're getting ready for, and I get ready for every telecast like it's going to the network. Because actually, Beau, you got to remember with the League Pass, we get tweets all the time from whether it's Amsterdam or France, or you can go all over the world. People are watching the NBA, and it's increased. It's amazing what's happened over the last 15 to 20 years in particular. But I did this a long time ago, believe it or not. I was doing tennis back in the 90s on ESPN. And every spring we'd go to Monaco first. We'd do Hamburg, we'd do Rome, and we were living large. My partner at the time was Patrick McEnroe. And it was incredible to go over there and do the clay court season and be a part of it all and see the best in the world. And I'm still in love with the game of tennis like I am golf. So they actually found that it was economically feasible to keep us in the studios in Bristol and call the matches off a monitor. It saved the hotel. It saved the first class plane ticket. So I've done it before. You don't get the same feel, obviously, because you're not on site. But at the same time, there aren't that many limitations. And going into this, I think it's going to be interesting because the microphones are so good that I'll jump ahead, and I hope we don't pump in noise. I hope it's the natural sounds of the ball, the sneakers, and the players, and the verbal volleyball. It doesn't have to be foul. And we can also apologize for anything we picked up with our Parat mics. But I've done it before, and it could be actually very entertaining for our fans.
Did you see the German league games, the soccer games, where they pumped in what the noise would sound like if there was an actual game? And I guess it's a world feed where you have the option. The local broadcaster can either pick up the sound or not. It does sound odd to see the stands empty and have all that noise coming down. So I guess it's just a different experience, right?
Artificial. I mean, we don't need the artificial aspect of it. I'd rather hear Terry Stotts or Alvin Gentry call out a play. And the same goes for Scott Brooks. These guys, they're very good at what they do. And I'd like to hear them as well. A lot of times I want to hear them, but I'm drowned out. Now, frequently they stand right in front of me. So I have to call the game off the monitor anyway, because most, as Tommy knows,
I can imagine.
We're moving upstairs now into a lot of different places, but when we're on the floor, we're going like this, we're going like that, because the coach is standing right in front of us. Yeah. So I am looking forward to it, and I hope we don't pump in artificial sounds.
Well, Tommy, Joel's talking about some things that I see almost as opportunities to look at things from a different perspective. Is there some stuff like that? I mean, obviously you're preparing your team now and you're doing draft preparation. Is there some opportunities to look at things from a different perspective with this sort of pause button we've hit during quarantine?
Oh, absolutely. I think it gives us a chance to review all of our processes you're not looking to necessarily cut corners or roll pennies up or anything, but you certainly realize there's a lot of areas that we can be a little bit more economically nimble. And that's revealed itself to us just by these conference calls that we're doing, where normally we'd fly all of our scouts in and sit around in a room for 4 or 5 days. Now we meet 2-3 times a week, and that's been over these last 85 days. And that's a lot better communication wise, a lot better use of our time, to be honest with you. I'm looking forward to the games, Joel. I think the broadcast quality that the NBA provides through their partners, I think they're going to be willing to try a lot of different stuff like they do at Summer League. And that's exciting. Different camera angles, giving fans options, a way to zoom in, zoom out. And certainly there'll probably be the R-rated, the PG-rated, and the G-rated versions of what they can hear, hopefully, in their houses. But I think it is, we've got to make the very best of a tough situation to deliver a really quality product to our fans who we miss dearly. And I think that's where we really need to focus on that and the fan experience, and definitely with every single person, not just players, not just staff, coaches, everyone that's involved in whatever's ahead of us, their safety is number one. And
Tommy, you know what, Bo, Tommy brings up a great point that on The Last Dance, you had the PG version.
Yes,
and you had the R-rated version. And they have a network where they have 2 or 3 options at ESPN. And hopefully the regionals are all going to be included so the local guys won't be excluded. And we could be doing it in our home base, whether it's in New Orleans or whether your guys in DC, or there's a broadcast facility. Don't forget, Disney, and I've done voiceovers there, has a massive production facility on the grounds in Orlando. So I've done anthology shows, whether it's golf or tennis. I voiced over shows in that facility, and they could use that as a broadcast center if they want the announcers there, although they may want them to stay in their local markets. That's entirely possible as well. I don't think we're going to be in the building, but as Tommy said, I think we're going to have options. And Tommy, you're right. I think it's going to lead to creativity from the network and the partners.
Well, it'd be a huge shame to miss this opportunity, to blow a chance to try something new, because we might not have this chance like this again. Hopefully we never have another pandemic, obviously, but when you're coming back out of this and you got to reconnect with fans, fans get it. They want to see basketball, but I think there's that opportunity. If they're not at the games, how can we keep them engaged from their couches or their viewing standpoints? And you're going to have to really think long and hard and do some exciting, creative things. And there might be some swings and misses, but it's still worth trying.
Yeah, and Bo, also remember, we're the most user-friendly sport. When you have football, you're a good distance from the field. Plus, they are the gladiators of our generation. So the emotions are not there because they're in a helmet most of the time. And the same goes with baseball, that you're removed from it. Even though emotionally you can get involved, but in basketball, we are the most user-friendly. You're on top of it. And I wouldn't want to take that away either, that kind of impact and that kind of association everybody has with the players.
You make a good point. I worked with the NBL, the Australian Basketball League, where LaMelo Ball was last year. So I do some work with them. And the last game of their grand finals was played basically in front of friends and family. You could hear everything that was going on. I mean, everything. But it was interesting. It really was. It wasn't a bad experience. It was just a different experience. But one thing I want to move on to, as we start to, get ready to play, perhaps, hopefully, different teams are preparing in different ways. And on our Hall Pass Network menu of shows, Terry Stotts was a guest earlier, and this is what he had to say on behalf of the Blazers.
Yours is a little different. Eventually, if you guys do start up, you're going to have a first team meeting. What's the first thing you're going to say to your guys?
Well, it depends on the format of however we come back to playing. But, the message is, look, we got a chance. We got a chance to win. We've got Zach Collins and Yusuf Nurkic coming back healthy. It's even playing floor, level playing floor. So it's about competing. The reason we come back will be to compete and to win, and regardless of what the format. And if we're involved in that format, we go out there, and it's going to be a shortened training camp to a degree. Keep things simple, play basketball, and you don't know what's ahead, so make the most of it.
That's great. Well,
Tommy, you heard Coach Stotts there. We don't know what format a return to play is going to take. But if you guys are a part of that, if the Washington Wizards are a part of that, what's your message to the organization?
Hey, be ready. We've told our players all along, it's far better to stay ready than try to get ready. So our players in good shape. I think everybody wants to know, are we playing for something, meaning playoff opportunity? But certainly if you get any opportunity to play, every young player needs minutes. Every free agent needs minutes. There's something in it for everybody. But the most important thing is to represent yourself, your franchise, in the very best light. And that's by going out and giving it your all. And we have high character guys on our team. We're very blessed to have them. It starts from ownership all the way down. Scotty Brooks has been one of the very best people in the NBA, raised over $50,000 during this hiatus he actually had his daughter shave his head for charity. You know, I shaved my head years ago, and it was charity just from the standpoint you would have to look at all the grass that's growing and not growing around my head. But Scotty did it with a very open heart to help hospital workers in D.C., people like that. Our players love to play for him. And our players really get cranked up to be back together, to get the opportunity to play together again. We have a very close team, and it gives us an opportunity. That's our message to our players. If we get the opportunity to get out there and play, is, hey, let's go. We're prepared for this. Let's go make the very best of this situation, put on a show for our fans, and give everybody something to maybe give just a daily distraction to what's going on in the world outside. I think people could use that, a little bit of time to just sit back and enjoy basketball again, could really deliver a little bit of a healing power, I think, to the sports world. And that's a big responsibility for our players. You know, they're some of the most compensated athletes on the planet, and rightfully so. They work hard for every single thing they get. But this is yet another opportunity to earn our pay, all of us in the NBA, to deliver this for our fans.
Yeah, I think people are dying to see sports.
Bo, can I also throw in that I'm not objective about Scott Brooks, okay? And I feel that Tommy's really fortunate. I had Scott Brooks when he was playing for Billy Mulligan at UC Irvine when he was an anteater. And I remember going to the Bring Center right when it opened and how hard he played. And that's why he made it in the league to begin with, when he was trying to make it with the Houston Rockets to start way back when. So I'm not objective. Can I also throw this in, though, after that Terry Stotts comment? Can I be the first to veto anybody that was hurt being allowed to come back because of this long layoff? Can I start a petition drive right now?
Get on your soapbox, Joe. Get on your soapbox.
Thank you. Please, if you were on the roster, but March 11th, when I went on a telecast, we got canceled 2 minutes before we went on air. So we had to tell our audience in New Orleans, we're here, but unfortunately we're not going to play. And as we found out for very good reasons, Adam Silver was way ahead of the curve on that. But take the rosters from March 11th, and that's all you're allowed to use. Thank you, Tommy.
Wait, let me dig into this a little bit. So if you are injured and you're out for 2 weeks, are you allowed to come back now? Or if you're out for the season, how does that work in your mind, Joel?
Addendums. There's going to be clauses in each, right? Clauses in each.
Great.
Every individual, there'll be considerations. But with guys, Nurkic is really a bonus for them coming back. They got two bigs now, and they're totally different, Whiteside and Nurkic. So for all of us in the Western Conference, thank you, Terry. I'd like to veto that proposition as soon as possible.
I don't know if you're going to, as commissioner, Joel, I don't know if they're going to give you veto power this time around. I think there's so many players out there that are franchise-changing type players, as you mentioned. It's going to be even that much more compelling when teams get back out there. And there's a lot of players that have been out for a good chunk of the season, like you said, with Nurkic and with Collins. There's a lot of other players that they were injured most of the season, were playing with injury, and they weren't playing anywhere near to their capacity. And now, most players say, hey, I've never felt this good in my life because this has been the longest layoff they've had. So I think we'll get a chance if we do it right, and we will, ramping up slowly, learning from all the other leagues as they open. That training is going to be critical, cannot be compromised whatsoever. Let's get a good month and a half base, get some scrimmages in, and then the opportunity to go out there and play. I think the product's going to look pretty darn good. And I know this about NBA players. You get them out there with 3 refs and a ball, scoreboard's on, they're going to go. It doesn't take long for those guys to get the competitive juices going.
Yeah, it's a great point. Bo, let me just throw this in. The competitive aspect of the NBA, the most elite player in the world, there's a pride factor. And Tommy knows it. We were talking before we came on about the days in Denver and Gucci Row and UNLV in the old days, and when Tark was there. But the pride factor, I don't think they're going to care if anybody's in there, because if anybody's in the building, Beau, because they're not going to be showing up. They're competing at the highest level all the time, and that's in pickup games at the men's gym in the summer at UCLA.
Yeah,
You don't get there if you don't have that
chance earlier. One of the greatest scrimmages in the history of basketball was during the Olympic training center. USA Basketball, one of their practices, their scrimmage is still legendary to this day. He just takes a little bit of getting those talented guys out there together and get going. I think it will be a little strange at first when you don't have fans, but I do think there's going to be a lot of opportunities to make it feel like a really good a competitive environment for the players, and then they just take over, once the juices start flowing, like we said. And I really hope there's a way that they can see inside the arena. They'll be able to see the broadcast and hear great voices like yours, and then we can pipe in the top 10. Because again, I'm not trying to overdo it here, but I got two of the best pipes in the NBA sitting here on my call with you guys, and it's embarrassing for my voice to hear next to you guys. But I think that those kinds of things mean the world to players. The way it's presented, the way that you guys present the games on air and with the highlight packages. That's what players live for. And if you don't believe it, look at their social media right after the game. They're sending all the clips out.
Yep.
Well, that's nice of you to say, Tommy. I tell you what, before we get on to the next topic, I think Joel's proposition to not allow players that are injured to come back allows Tommy to skirt a certain fabulous point guard in Washington as well. I mean, there's a terrific point guard out there, Tommy. I don't know how you feel about him, but he's fantastic in my eyes.
Yeah, that's another great point. You got a guy like John Wall and Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving.
Sure.
I mean, there's all kinds of players that you never know. Usually we've said all along, look, when the season's over, that's when John Wall's next season will start. And nobody could have predicted that, hey, maybe the season starts up in August. But we'll worry about that when that rolls around. Right now, we're still maintaining the most important thing for John is his future. The most important thing for us with John is our future. The franchise with him and Bradley, we think we have a dynamic backcourt, and it only works when he's healthy. And we don't want any setbacks. But August is a lot different than April. And that goes for a lot of players in the league. I'm sure everybody's going to check themselves. But again, I think it's so important. What's the format going to look like and what's at stake? What the opportunities are.
Well, if we push the schedule back and say we do play in August, that means it's a later start for next season. Mm-hmm. I want both you guys' opinions on this. Pros and cons. We can call it a December start. We can call it an even later start if you want to. Joel, you can go first. You can dive in first. Imagine we start on Christmas Day next year. Are there pros? Are there cons? What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, there have been the discussions of trying and experimenting with a start. And I would start a couple of weeks before Christmas Day. Okay. I want guys in a rhythm. I'd like a 2 or 3 week period before our best is on the floor and those 5 games and those 10 teams. So that's not the first game. And could be choppy, who knows, because they don't have that continuity or rhythm that they're going to develop over the maybe a 2 or 3 week period. But at the same time, I would like to see the sample. And they're going to find out. And things have changed when it comes to viewing habits of everybody, because it used to be because from Memorial Day to Labor Day, that used to be summer. Well, summer's changed. And school, the schedule for school has changed as well. So it's going to be interesting to see. I don't think they're going to go up against. Everybody says, well, people don't watch TV in the summer. I don't think that's the case anymore. And the way everything is splintered as well, and the options, it used to be 3 or 4 networks and that was it. Well, now a lot of people, school starts in first week August for a lot of kids. It's not Memorial Day to Labor Day anymore. It's all changed. So I think this is going to be a great test. And they can find out, it's a large sample size, start the season, hypothetically, first week of December. Take it all the way to the finals Labor Day weekend. And then you're not going up against the zillion pound guy. The NFL, 17 million viewers on an average good Sunday afternoon on the late game, the game of the weekend. So I like the idea, and I'd like to see. Now, I'm not looking at it from, I don't have little kids, and I don't have kids in school anymore. But at the same time, viewing habits have totally changed. And this is going to be a good sample to find out. And we might find out, because you're going up against baseball, and baseball's big time is September into October and their postseason. So you're not going up against baseball either. Baseball is 162 games, a lot of inventory. I think the NBA is going to find it's good. They could actually now find that their window and the playoff window, August into September, will be perfect.
Sure. Now, Tommy, you do have a few kids. So tell me about the advantages and disadvantages of, perhaps playing into the summer and also starting December, Christmas in your mind.
I think it's just everything starts out as having to adjust, and you adjust your calendars. Players, I know the hard thing for players is they like their summer times. And so if you're playing into July, August or something, that obviously doesn't help with that. But everything can be bargained for. Everything can be reached an agreement if you show the benefit for everybody. It can't just benefit owners. It can't just benefit players. It has to be a collective. And that's where I think Adam and Michelle Roberts are fantastic working together to find what's best for everybody. I would not mind seeing us start a later deal. Joel, we've been around. The season used to start in the middle of November. And then as you try to remove 4 games in 5 nights and stuff, slowly but surely we started the season at the start of November. Then all of a sudden it was October and middle of October. And, our training camps are actually like, we basically those are 3-day mini camps, and you're out running, getting ready for preseason, and you play 4 preseason games, and boom, you're into the summer or into the season. I think there's a little bit better buildup if we could do that into December. I would be all for it, but that's not for our call. And certainly the future is going to look different after next season. I think they can evaluate and see what worked and what didn't work, and then look 2-3 years down the line and say, hey, let's plug this back in, because you don't want to come out of this and lose the lessons that you learned. If fans appeal, the biggest thing, fans vote with their feet. They'll tell us what to do. And I think you're really onto something with that, Joel. I would be in support of that.
So quickly, Tommy, building off of that and learning stuff, how have how's your organization worked strength training wise? Because we talk about a quick buildup for these players to come back from training. What did you guys deploy in terms of resources to get these guys in shape and maintain their shape? I know you said they've sort of spread out around the country. So what do you do in that circumstance? How does it work?
Well, we have an amazing medical staff, and they're the most committed people. Immediately after we were about to fly to Boston on March 11th, we just played the Knicks, and then obviously everything happened. Well, we immediately pivoted and got equipment. We never opened our facility. Some facilities stayed open after March 11th, and some teams were able to work out. We shut everything down immediately. But our staff, our current weight room in our medical facility right now looks like somebody went in and helped themselves, because there's a ton of stuff missing. That's because our staff loaded up things and delivered everything to players. So they have bands, they have rollers, a lot of dumbbells, and a lot of just different things that they could work with based on what they had around their house. And it's been enough. It wasn't ideal, but we've optimized it the best of our ability. And like I said, some players are much better situations leaving market than they were here. But every player has a bike. Every player has access to enough therapeutic bands and stuff to get good workouts. And these Zoom workouts have brought our team together in a way that we were very surprised by. But I think, guys, when you have a noon workout and everybody's sitting in the waiting room at 11:45 talking to each other, and they ended at 1:30, and guys stay on till 2 o'clock talking to each other, we saw we were onto something. Guys just want that connection, and they want to be competing against each other and give each other a hard time, and those things have been magic for us.
So the whole team's in this Zoom chat doing one workout with the training staff.
Yeah, and it's funny because some guys certainly have a little bit better access to stuff than others. So sometimes I see guys and they're picking up a suitcase over their head versus a guy that has some. It happened that quickly that everything shut down. We weren't able to deliver certain things to some players in their apartments, and we made a mistake of a couple guys. We do ball handling drills. That's about 45 minutes, and a lot of players, we brought the basketballs to where they live. A lot of our guys live in condos and lofts and stuff. So they got the immediate call from the neighbors saying, hey, what in the hell's going on upstairs? And get those guys out. So players had to find places out in their, either in the front lawn or someplace outside of their building to do ball handling drills, or else as they keep getting their neighbors, we're ratting them out. But, by and large, everybody adapts to it. But the one thing that I'm going to emphasize, we need a good month and a half workup, is because nothing replaces playing basketball. And nobody's played in a scrimmage. Nobody's done anything remotely like that since your last game. So we got to be patient and let guys build this up.
But speaking of playing basketball, Joel, my students, anybody watching the show would kill me if I didn't ask you this. You got a front row seat for that young superstar named Zion Williamson. What's it like to watch him up close in person do his thing from your perspective? Have you ever seen anything quite like it?
Well, I pray at I told you guys earlier, I pray at Mount Zion on a regular basis. He's a wonderful kid, by the way. Doesn't even turn 20. It's unbelievable. And Tommy knows, we're around these young men. They're prepared. He's so grounded. It's almost like when you talk to him and you ask him a question, it's almost like he's on the floor and he's going to gather. He's not going to rush into his shot or his move. And he's well thought out. He's prepared for this. His mom, his stepdad, everybody involved has done an incredible job. So, he's a gentleman. He's a great representative. So the one thing that's impressed me more than anything else, and Tommy can touch on this because he's seen basketball and he's evaluated basketball at the highest level for a long time. I'm kind of surprised by the touch around the rim for Zion. I'm surprised that it's feathery. His shot's not bad. You can see at the free throw line, it's going to be even better. It's not broken. Its form looks pretty good. So, but his motor, he really plays hard. You can't measure the motor. So it's exciting for all of us. And you know what? That's why I want these guys to be in Orlando. And I want Tommy to touch on this as well, Beau, because I think a young team, and Tommy, you got a young team. And a really young team. You got John and Bradley and a lot of youngsters. And the Pelicans have, with Zion, who's only 19, you got Brandon Ingram's the geezer at 22. Brandon's 22. Lonzo, Josh Hart, Frank Jackson, Nikhil Alexander-Walker, Jackson Hayes. It's kind of like what Pop used to say about their rodeo trip. When they went away for a couple of weeks, they really bonded. And that's what I'd love to see more than anything else for these young squads. Go to Orlando, be in your bubble, and this group in New Orleans, they really like each other. They get along. They hang out together. They eat together. They linger. As Tommy said, they were on the Zooms. Well, they weren't getting off. They're talking to each other. They're hanging out together any way they could. And that's why I'd love to see it happen in Orlando, because that's the type of experience they need. And that brings, Tommy can tell you, that really brings a team together. You're going to have chemistry off the floor. It doesn't hurt if you have it off the floor. It's not a necessity off the floor, but it certainly helps.
Do you see a bonding possibility here, Tommy?
Absolutely. You got to remember, I think everybody takes a little bit for granted how much you love basketball until you have it taken away and you don't have the opportunity to play at the highest level, certainly, but even just pickup games, even just going to the park. Like, I think everyone is commiserating how much they miss basketball, miss playing the games, miss the practice. Now all of a sudden you start hearing, I miss the bus rides. I miss practice, and the pre-practice training and stuff, and things that they would never, ever miss until you don't have them. So they're already kind of pre-wired to how much they're looking forward to those things. And I think once again, here you go. And Joel touched on what a wonderful player Zion Williamson is. There's so many wonderful players in the league that are up and coming. This gives everybody a reminder of what they've been missing for 2.5, 3 months when you get a chance to see these guys come back, especially the young guys. I think that's something that gives every fan. In the NBA, you're either winning championships or you're hoping. You don't want to be life in the middle on that treadmill where you just can never get over the hump. And I think these young players, they represent to their franchises hope. And we have one of those with Rui Hachimura. It was a great, exciting rookie class last year. So many more things to come. And those kinds of things, hey, you might not win a championship this year in New Orleans. We might not win one in Washington, but people are going to see our young fans, and it's going to continue to give them hope for the future. And that's what keeps bringing generations together to watch games and pull for their teams, as long as they see, hey, you're about the right things, you got great character, and you're playing hard. And I think both of our franchises do. I know we both franchises have fantastic play-by-play guys, and that makes it so much easier.
I like the leadership. I like what Sheppard's got going there, and we got Griffin, Trench, and Langdon. So we're set. We're sound. We're fine in New Orleans as well. Future's bright in both franchises. By the way, you brought up Rui. It's a shame the kid's not an athlete, and he's not long enough either, is he? Man,
everybody. He surprises himself sometimes, but I think he's scratching the surface just like a lot of these young kids are. And that's why when people ask, these are meaningless games if they come back and they only play X number of games or something. No game in the NBA is meaningless, especially to so many young players. Those are huge evaluation opportunities, and whatever's going to happen. I know Vegas Summer League will come back, and that's really where it all starts for young players. That's the field of dreams, and that's the pathway to the NBA. That'll come back in its own way, shape, or form. But if that's not available to us in the next couple months, then this is the next best thing. And it's going to be a fantastic opportunity to evaluate young guys, what they do. And especially, can you imagine, Joel, if these are playoff play-in type of deals in that pressure situation, maybe a team went into this hiatus thinking, hey, our season's almost over, we're not going to go to the playoffs. Now all of a sudden you're thrust into that role. You cannot reproduce playoff pressure. It's only one way to do it is to be in the playoffs. So we're excited about that. One of the best things we did, Beau, as a staff, our coaches took our playoff series from 3 years ago against Atlanta, where we eliminated Atlanta, and then we lost to Boston in the second round in 7 games. But they divided our roster into four teams, and each coach took a team, and they did video breakdown and made the players watch each game and then go over that game collectively. Very slow process, and they got everybody's input. And then Bradley and John jumped on with every group and walked them through stuff. And our players right now on our roster have never seen Bradley and John play together. That's how young our roster is. From our team from 3 years ago, John and Bradley and Jan Mahimi, the only players left. So none of our players, there's 11, 12 more players on our roster, have never seen John play as a teammate. They've seen video, but they haven't played with him. And so that was a very healthy thing, and I think our players are excited. If they get back the John Wall of old, I think a lot of guys are sitting there going, hey, I'm all of a sudden I'm going to be a much better player just having that guy serving the ball to us. And I think Bradley's going to be so excited because now his usage will go down a little bit, but he can make a play from anywhere on the floor. Bradley's game increased because John was out, but I think it's going to double increase when John comes back.
Yeah, well, by the way, Beau, when I saw that comment by John Wall, Tommy, when he said I'm 110%, I'm not 100%, I just smiled because we want the best in the world on the floor. We want the best in the game on the floor. And by the way, to have a wingman, another great St. Louisan like Bradley Beal, accepting those bats. That's the reason. That's the combination.
You put a smile on Tommy's face right there.
Yeah, you know what? It's amazing, Joel. I've been when those guys are injured, they measured our IQ, and it's very, very low. It's below 19, 20 degrees. And then all of a sudden you get those guys back, and everybody talks about how smart.
You're a brain surgeon all of a sudden.
Yep.
Yeah, it's trust me, I'm on to their game. I kind of understand. I'm as good as those guys are.
I tell you what, I asked a question not long ago, who's the fastest player that you've ever seen in NBA history? And people talked about John Wall.
Yeah.
In that conversation, potentially I don't know if you guys have thoughts on the fastest player you've ever seen, but John Wall was certainly in that conversation.
I always talk about John. I say he's quicker than a paycheck. He just gets up and goes. And what he does better than anybody is he sees the floor, and he's actually faster with the ball than without, which is crazy. It's almost like he'll push it ahead and sprint to the ball, push it ahead, sprint to the ball. And if you watch it over time, it's amazing, Joel. It's not like Gulfstream or anything, but he's sprinting with the fastest of them. Other guys that are in his category, we always thought, Russell's one of the fastest too. And back in the day, there were certainly some other guys, but John is certainly one of the fastest players in this modern game right now. This generation of players, he's right there with the best of them.
Yeah,
Joel,
when I see John Wall baseline, Beau, and there's guys like Rod Foster in the past out of UCLA, super fast. I would go to the skills. Yeah, I'd go to the skills competition. That'd be fun to see with the ball. Yeah. And a new kid, a young man who's just finishing up its second season, De'Aaron Fox, is now in that category as well. Super fast baseline to baseline, but I'm glad Tommy brought it up. There's fast with the ball and fast without the ball. There's a big difference.
Yeah,
sure.
It's another reminder how healthy the league can be. When everybody's you bring out all the players and you hope that somehow one year we can have a league where there are very, very minimal injuries, and you get to see these guys compete at the highest level. That's the best season for fans ever.
Yeah.
Well, guys, last thing before I let you go, we talk about all these young players with their careers put on pause. There's a lot of young students, especially in our SBC program, with their career on pause, potentially coming out of college right now. What do I do? So, Joel, we'll start with you. Say you're a young broadcaster right now, and your career's been put on pause. What should you be doing right now to put yourself in the best position when things sort of open up again in your mind?
I would continue to get reps. And when I say that, I used to do games up in the stands at high school gyms, at small college gyms. Well, that's not available. So go to YouTube and watch a game and turn down the volume and just get reps. Call the game yourself and don't stop it. And just roll through it, tape it, so you can find out what you really liked and then what you didn't like and will never make air. Because you say, wait, I can't believe I just said that. Did I really? That's the way I described that play. So I think it's healthy to go to YouTube, go to wherever and the NBA.com app, you find games and continue to get reps and get better. And then listen to yourself. You're not going to get better if you're going to repeat the same mistakes unless you listen to yourself. But that would be the first thing I would do, Beau, was just look at games, watch games, and never stop getting reps.
Yeah,
it's an interesting advice, but it is painful to listen to yourself sometimes, Joel. I know this, having gone through that process, but you get better from it. Tommy, we've got young people that want to get into the management side of things. What do you imagine that they should be doing right now to prep themselves and to take advantage of this time?
You get all the kind of the cliche advice here. I'm not trying to do, but control your controllables. Right now, you don't have access to a lot of stuff. You can still network. You can still send reports to people. You can still keep in touch without being able to be face to face. You got to be very nimble in the way that you approach things. But reaching out to people right now, I know most GMs are sitting in front of their keyboard most of the time in the day. So maybe it's getting that email to them or a good text message in just to remind them what your career is about. But I just look at myself during this time. I've taken the opportunity to take some online classes at Yale, at the University of Pennsylvania. I brushed off Duolingo and trying to increase my aptitude with Spanish, a language that I'm pretty familiar with, but kind of lose if you don't get the reps, like Joel said. There's so much area right now that this might be the time to be selfish and try to do self-improvement the most you can. I really recommend spending 2-3 hours a day in an area that's maybe not exactly your focus and trying to challenge yourself to learn more and to be really immersed in something that gives you a little bit more diverse resume moving forward. But there's no excuse to not know players right now. Like you said, any game is on YouTube. If you're trying to get in the business as a scout, you can evaluate games just like you're there. And if you're trying to get in broadcasting, certainly you touched on that. But even in the analytic area, there's so many areas that you can engage with people online. There's so many classes that are available. Since we started this call, I jumped off of a clinic that Ettore Messina's doing he's in Milan now. But just those things are available. People can reach out and get knowledge, and it doesn't cost anything. And you could really sit back. If you walk out of this opportunity and you didn't do anything to improve, then it's an opportunity lost. We've had a lot of time on our hands to do these kinds of things, take full advantage of them. That's what I would be doing. I would certainly make sure that I'm trying to get as best opportunities right now when the doors are closed. I know online school gets a little rough, but if that's what's available to you, make sure you're taking it serious.
Well, guys, I can't thank you enough specifically for that advice for our students in this whole chat. It's been wonderful. So I appreciate you guys coming on the SBC Web Show. Thank you.
Hey, man, I look forward to seeing the SBC crew. Albert and Warren have done an unbelievable job what they started there, and with people, my man Larry Kuhn, there's nobody better. The salary cap and all the people that they brought in, all the big hitters like Big Beau right there, and all the people that helped make SBC so special, one-of-a-kind experience. I cannot wait to be back there.
Yeah, Beau, thank you for having me. And by the way, continued success. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you, fellas. Thanks so much. And a reminder to all of you watching this show, we got several shows on the Hall Pass Network. You're going to want to check them all out. Every Monday, it's Seth Greenberg with the pickup game. Then on Tuesday, Basketball Jones, Mark Jones from ESPN. heavy hitter guests on that one as well. And then right here on Thursday, it's me with the Sports Business Classroom Web Show. That's right, the SBC Web Show. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Great to see you guys. Take care, Joel. Take care, Beau.
You too, Tommy.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks fellas.